What's going on, you guys? I'm back with another video. I know it's been a while, and I know I keep on saying that I can't be that active on this channel. I gotta be honest with you guys, because of work, it's just not possible. But if I find some time, I always use it to give you a brand new video. And the Buffy marathon will continue. I'm currently rewatching all of it again with a friend who's never seen it before. So yeah, season 4 is coming. Angel Season 1 is coming. All of that is coming eventually. But I figured, you know what? I'm rewatching all the X-Men movies, and I never fully covered all of them. I think I only covered X-Men Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix of all movies, and Logan. And I figured, you know what? Since we're still dealing with a pandemic and we ain't got too many new releases, I was like, let's just rewatch them all and maybe give you even updated reviews on the films that I covered, but especially fill in the blanks and cover all the movies that I never covered on this channel, starting with the very first one. X-Men from 2000 by Bryan Singer. And this movie is very dear to me, very important to me, but also very important and very special to the comic book movie genre in general. Because after Batman and Robin, aka Batman and Robin and the Death of a Franchise, the comic book movie genre was dead. It was just dead because this movie killed it. It just completely destroyed and massacred it. It was only made in order to sell toys. And comic book movies were suffering. No one had hopes for another Batman film. And Batman and Superman were used to be the only characters that you could turn into a profitable franchise. And along came Bryan Singer to give us the X-Men. And I remember when I saw the first trailer, I remember very vividly, I was like, I gotta see this, I gotta check it out. Because I was a hardcore fan of the X-Men growing up. In general, I was more of a DC fanboy growing up, but the two Marvel properties that I always loved were Spider-Man and the X-Men. So me, my brother, and my cousin, we went in, I don't know if it was opening night, but we went to see it quite early after it hit theaters. And I was blown away by it. And I recently rewatched it because a lot of people told me it's dated now, it's not as good as it used to be. I'm like, it still holds up. Still a fucking great movie. And especially for its time, it was particularly amazing. I mean, it came out, again, at a time where comic book movies, no one wanted them. And now we have this movie that takes the source material seriously. It's amazing. The film kicks off literally at a concentration camp. And we're introduced to young Erik Lensherr and his dramatic backstory. We don't even know who that kid is. We just know that he's able to bend metal. And right out the gate, the way this movie is shot, the atmosphere, the tone is quite frightening and saddening. The first scene alone is super dramatic. That is not something that we were used to watching these comic book movies. I was like, oh my god, this is a Holocaust scene. And even the next scene is something straight out of a horror movie, because after we see young Erik at the concentration camp, we flash forward to a young Rogue, back when she was known as Marie. She's on her first date, I think, and she's kissing her boyfriend, and boom, she sucks out his entire life energy and almost kills him. The way that scene is shot and timed, it's something out of a horror flick. And this is what's so great about this movie. This movie combines so many great elements. Yes, it has the superhero action. It has all the fun action sequences and the costumes and the over-the-top elements. But at its core, it's a story about discrimination. I mean, the first scene alone shows us the end result of discrimination, literal concentration camps. The second scene then pulls back and shows us that mutants can be scary. And then we're introduced to Jean Grey, a mutant herself who hasn't revealed herself to the world yet, but she's making her case in Congress because guess what? The government wants to force mutants into registering themselves and outing themselves as mutants because they're afraid of them. And the great thing about this movie is, even though we know that that is super messed up and we know that this can lead to horrible things, we understand the human side as well, because these mutants, their powers can be quite scary, as illustrated by Rogue. And then we're introduced to our two main ideologies. Professor Charles Xavier, played brilliantly by Stewart, and Magneto, aka Erik Lensherr, the grown-up version, played by Ian McKellen. And I love the fact that at first we don't even see Magneto's face. We don't see Erik's face, we just see the silhouette, illustrating right out the gate that this is going to be our antagonist. And I love the way that this movie plays with genres so much. And right out the gate we understand that these two used to be friends. And that is something that I wasn't used to back then. I wasn't used to complex villains. I wasn't used to Batman fighting the bad guy or Spider-Man fighting the bad guy. And now to see a complex version of Magneto, a Holocaust survivor, trying to fight against prejudice again, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then the movie just keeps on getting better and better and better, because right after that amazing scene, the first standoff between the two main ideologies and the two main fractions of the conflict, we're introduced to Hugh Jackman's Logan. And that to me was the single most important moment in comic book movie history. When I saw Wolverine on screen for the very first time, I was immediately in love with them. I'm like, I can't believe that they made that work. They made that haircut work. They made all of it work. And when his claws popped out, I was like, I'm seeing my childhood hero on screen, and it's not cheesy, it's taken seriously. I mean, he even rocks the cigar and all of it, and the way he calls people bub. I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. And the movie sort of plays out like a thriller. The first act is basically a thriller. There's not a lot of action. It's just a lot of suspense and a lot of revelations, and I love it. And then in the second act, we're introduced to Charles Xavier's school for the gifted, and we learn so much about the mythology of it all. The fact that it is a safe place and a safe haven for mutants, but it's also a training facility for the X-Men. And we're introduced to the first couple members of the X-Men. Jean Grey, played by Famke Jannsen, I think that's how you pronounce her name, was awesome. She'll always be my favorite Jean Grey, because there is so much to her. We learn that she's super intelligent. Her powers are amazing, because not only can she read minds like the professor, but she's also telekinetic. That alone is amazing. But she's also the voice of reason and the girlfriend of the team leader, Cyclops. Yeah, Scott Summers, he's such a Boy Scout. But you know what? James Marsden just nails the part. I love him, and I love the fact that he views Charles Xavier as a father figure. Because right at the gate, you see that these people, they're a family. Then we got Storm, played by Halle Berry in one of her early roles. And it's funny that she lost her accent as the films went along. But I also loved her because she's the straight up soldier of the team. And sometimes she's filled with hate. Hatred for humans.
Do you hate normal people?
Sometimes.
Because they showed her nothing but hatred, but she still wants to fight the good fight, and that's what this movie is all about. Because Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier basically represents Dr. Martin Luther King. He believed in a world where humans and mutants could live side by side. Magneto, on the other hand, stands for Malcolm X. He was discriminated against himself, so he's like, no, I'm taking the fight to them. I'm wiping them out. And at the core of it, we got Logan, who is on neither side. He doesn't even know his own past, but it's obvious that he was experimented on, treated like a weapon, and we learn so much more about him as the series goes along. But in the first film, he is the wild card. The only person he cares about is the little rogue that he found on his way. So when she is being kidnapped by Magneto in a great reveal, Hugh? Who said I wanted you?
What the hell do you want with me?
You? My dear boy. Whoever said I wanted you?
He actually steps up and becomes a hero and sort of a father figure to her. And that leads me to the final battle, which is a little over the top admittedly, but I always loved the fight between Sabretooth and Logan. Here's the thing. If there's one thing I don't like about this film, it's that they don't use Sabretooth that well. I mean, he's great in the action sequences, but he's technically not a real character. You could say the same for Toad. The only villains that are sort of fleshed out are Magneto, who's awesome, who's one of the lead characters, and Mystique, played by Rebecca Romijn. And again, she is fantastic. And super sexy as well. And I love that this movie leaves you with a feeling of wanting more. Some people view it as a negative. I think it's a very positive aspect of the film because you're not ready to be done with it. You want more. How is that a bad thing? The movie literally ends with Charles visiting Erik in his prison cell and they play a game of chess because Charles will never give up on Erik, and Erik will never give up on trying to fight the human race. And the fact that they still talk about their differences while playing a nice game of chess is just fucking incredible. I love it. And the chemistry between these two characters is amazing. You really understand both sides of the conflict. And as the series goes along, you understand them even more, both sides. All in all, this movie still to this day holds up. I mean, most of the visual effects hold up. The action is great, but the characters, above all else, are fantastic. The chemistry among them is great. The social implications of this film are still relevant today. And the funny thing is, today Hollywood believes that if you throw in a social message, the movie automatically becomes a good thing. And I respectfully disagree. I don't believe that social message equals good quality writing. Very often I don't see it. I don't see why that makes a film so much better. But this movie uses its social message quite wisely because story comes first, character comes first, and then you can talk about real life issues. If you have all of the parts in place, all of the writing, all of the characters, all the actors, and all that stuff, then you can start making a point and making a relevant point. If you only have a relevant point but no interesting characters to back it up, why should I care? Then I could just go online or on social media. Then I don't need a movie. But this film as a movie is terrific. As a comic book movie, it is still a miracle to this day that it worked so well. And it kicked off a franchise that had its highs and its lows. But I love this movie till this very day. There are so many great sequences. And I love the fact that it's not just a straight up action flick. It's so much more. It's a drama, it's a thriller, it even has horror elements, it's dramatic, and it made me see both sides. I understood both sides of the equation. XMen gets the gold medal. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I love this movie quite a bit. Can't wait to talk about X2 X-Men United because that's one of those sequels that is just better in every way. But yeah, that's another video for another time. But now I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think of the first X-Men from 2000? Do you think it still holds up or don't you like it? Did you ever like it to begin with? Let me know in the comment section below because I fucking love it. I still adore it to this very day. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. If you like what you see here and you want to see more, then just subscribe.